So we're talking about poetic structures today and how poetry is, in fact, created. And when we talk about poetry, we compare poetry to another type of writing that we are all very, very familiar with, and that is called prose. If you open a book, I just happen to have a book right here, and you look at that, that is prose. When you're writing in paragraphs, when you're this is what we typically as writers expect. And prose is important. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why we worry about prose. But it boils down to the idea of prose in literature is just that we have information that we want to share with the reader. We're going to convey an idea. We're going to deliver information. We're going to tell a story. And typically, when we're looking at stories, we know what to expect when we go into it. We know to expect characters and settings and conflicts. We expect a plot structure of some sort. And when you've got prose, that's not the word I meant to say. When you got poetry, you don't necessarily have that guarantee. So this is the opening to Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. And like the first thing I want to call out, like the title of this section, Don't Nobody, right? But you notice that Don't Nobody flows into the next stanza immediately. So like he's making his statements. Don't nobody believe nothing these days, which is why I haven't told nobody the story I'm about to tell you. Right away, there's a couple things I want you to realize. First off, this would be all one sentence if we wrote it in prose. Why is he splitting it up? Well, don't nobody makes a statement. It also serves a double duty of being the title. Nobody knows what I'm going through. Believe nothing these days. Don't nobody believe nothing these days. Which is why I haven't told nobody the story I'm about to tell you. So he's like up front, he's like, yo, don't nobody believe me. Don't believe anything. But then he like lets us in, which is why I'm about to tell you. You can almost see where he's like got this big, strong front. And then the fact that we have a couple of lines together, he's like, okay, I'm going to tell you. And the truth is, you probably ain't going to believe it either. Going to think I'm lying or I'm losing it. But I'm telling you, this story is true. Big old long chunk of text, and we got one line next to each other. Once again, this is not how we would write in real life. First off, I'd chew you out for starting a sentence with and. Right? We don't do that in prose. Poetry, you get away with it. But the fact that we have this line right here, this story is true, all standing by itself, emphasizes he wants you to know that. It happened to me, really. It did. It so did. Okay. This doesn't look like this in the slightest. And if we were to read a book versus to read poetry, you're going to be able to interact and connect with that emotion a lot better than if you were reading it in a story. Okay. This is a really good book. I would totally recommend it. My name is William Holloman. But to my friends and people who know me, just Will. So call me Will, because after I tell you what I'm about to tell you, you'll either want to be my friend or not want to be my friend at all. Either way, you'll know me. Know me. I'm only William to my mother and my brother Sean whenever he was trying to be funny. Now, I'm wishing I would have laughed more at his dumb jokes, because the day before yesterday, Sean was shot and killed. You see how we're breaking this up and we're emphasizing like certain points with how we choose to write our lines, how Jason Reynolds chose to break up his lines, and he wants the really important stuff to stand on its own. This idea, you're either going to be my friend or you're not. Like it stands on its own. So you can have really big or very small ideas. And it all goes back to our idea of lines and stanzas. Is it real? You have to read the book to find out. So, terminology, just so we are aware. This right here is a line. A group of lines makes a stanza. In poetry, we group lines together to convey ideas, to focus on a single thing. Okay? Sometimes we have stanzas of one line, which they're not really stanzas at all at that point. They're just lines. But then we also have stanzas that are a lot longer. And they're all talking about the same thing. You're going to be my friend or you're not. I'm only William to my mother, my brother Sean, whenever he's trying to be funny. Like, that's same idea. I wish I laughed more at his dumb jokes. Same idea. Okay. So we have lines that make stanzas, just like we have sentences that make paragraphs. But that's prose. Poetry, that's all out the window. Okay. So we're going to be looking at today, we're going to be looking at Predators, and we're going to look at how the author of Predators, Linda Hogan, chose to break up her message that she's trying to convey into different lines and into different stanzas. Okay. Now, we're not going to worry about that right now, because right now you're going to go work on Lexia. You're going to work on Lexia. I'm a little bit long.